Okay, this is how to win the lottery. Are you ready? First of all, you take the entire draw history right from the very beginning, and you put all the outcomes into a spreadsheet. Starting from draw number 1, we've got a list of all the numbers that came out, the machine that was used, and the set of balls. And we make a list of every outcome that's ever occurred and put it all on a spreadsheet, and then we analyse it. And we analyse it by making a huge spreadsheet like this, where we look at the individual numbers and we look at each draw, each outcome, and we see if that number occurred in the outcome. And then we count how many times each number has occurred, and we make a list of all the numbers, how many times they've occurred, and what draw the last occurred in. Okay? And then we take all that information and we put it on a chart. To fill in the chart, we have an array of possible contents for each square on the chart, and then we put it all into a chart that ends up looking like this. On the x-axis we have the number of occurrences, and on the y-axis we have how long since it last occurred. Now, to make things really interesting, we set up parameters that allow us to only look at certain draws based on what machine was used, or whatever combinations of machines. We can look at all the results for any individual set of balls, or we can look at the results that have come out with a particular number, or a pair of numbers, or 3 numbers, or 4 numbers, or even all 6 numbers. So we can look up all the outcomes for any given machine, any given number, any given set of balls, or any combination of machines, sets of balls, or numbers, and produce a chart showing how many times each other number has occurred with the specified criteria. And this is what you end up with. Now, to produce a chart like this manually would take an awful long time, an awful lot of time, because you would have to go through the entire draw history, look at each individual draw, see whether each number occurred in it, count how many times each number occurred, and then put all that information into this chart. And to do it manually would take you probably all day, because that's how long it took me the first time I did it. It took me all day to do this manually. And when I'd done it, I I chose a number from the chart based on basically the frequency of the number and how recently it had been drawn, and then I went through the entire draw history again, and I looked up how many times each other number had occurred with that number to make a new chart, and that took me all day as well. And then I chose another number to go with that number, and then I made another chart looking at the pairs of numbers and found a number that was frequent and quite overdue. And so what I ended up with was a combination of three numbers, and I played the odd picks game, and I chose a 3-number odd pick, and the second draw from when I'd chosen it, those 3 numbers came out, and I can't remember what numbers they were exactly, but those 3 numbers came out, and I worked out that the average gap between occurrences of any 3 numbers on the Lotto, this was back when there were only 49 numbers, the average gap was something like once every 1200 draws, and after just 2 draws, the numbers that I'd chosen by spending all day producing these charts, they came out after 2 draws. 1200 divided by 2, 600. 600 to 1. That's what the odds were of that actually happening, and it happened. 600 to 1. So I beat odds of 600 to 1. Okay? And then I realised that I could make this chart work automatically. This is how much code you have to put. This is how much code you have to write in each cell of the chart. Nearly a full page of code. And it's all nested ifs. It's really boring, tedious, terrible to debug. But I've finally done it. I've made it automatic. So now all I have to do is look at the chart, specify what machines I want to look at, what sets of balls, what individual numbers, and an entire day's work done at the push of one button. So your computer can do an entire day's work in a second, and that's what you're looking at right here in this video. A spreadsheet that does a full day's work in seconds. Produces one of these charts for whatever criteria I specify. So for instance, if I look at how many times each number has occurred in either Guinevere or Lancelot, and what draw each number last occurred in. Now I'm only looking at the draws where either one of these machines was used, and so I produce a chart like this. And then what I do is each time there's a draw, I see where the numbers were on the chart. I see where they were last time. From that, I begin to learn that perhaps the most overdue number comes out, or the one that's most overdue for its frequency, or numbers that are just generally spread out. And I start to see patterns, see where the numbers tend to drop from. They tend to drop from the denser areas of the chart. They tend to drop from the more frequent end. They tend to drop from the more overdue end. or anywhere along this axis. The ones that are closest to the top right seem to be the ones that come out most often. And what I do is I pick one number from a chart, and then I produce a chart for that number in seconds. Now if you want to know how to win the lottery, this is what you have to do. You have to work. You have to do actual work. You have to look at the lottery. You can't control anything without monitoring it. It's like if you were driving a car, how do you control a car? You look out of the windscreen. You look where the car is going and you drive. You cannot control anything without monitoring it. So if you want to win the lottery, right? If you want to control the numbers that you bet on, so that you're making the best possible bets, so that you're betting on winning numbers, not just any numbers, but the numbers that are going to come out, you need to look. You need to actually look at the draw history. And the way to do it, the way to summarise the draw history, is by counting the occurrences of the numbers. You have to count how many times they've come out. You have to look at how long it is, how long it's been since they last came out. And you can't just look at one number at a time, you have to look at all of them together. You have to see where they are in relation to each other. And when you do that, and you use these charts, and you look for the patterns, and you look at what numbers are coming out, you look at where they were on the chart when they came out, you look at which set of balls or which machine was used, you begin to see patterns, and you begin to come up with reasons why the numbers that came out did come out. And then you apply those reasons to the next draw to predict what's going to come out next. All you have to do is look at the chart, look what numbers are in the areas that numbers tend to fall from, and that's how you do it. Now I've been doing this for a long time, and in the last few weeks, the last 4 or 5 weeks, I've won over £1,000. So that's how you win the lottery. You don't just pick any old numbers and hope for the best. You look what you're doing. You have to look at the outcomes to predict the next outcomes. You see, you have to know your history in order to predict the future. History repeats itself. So that's how you do it. See, this is an up-to-date chart of all the balls in the Lotto, balls 1 to 59, on a chart, just looking at the draws where Guinevere and Lancelot have been used, or where sets of balls 5, 6, 7 and 8 have been used, because looking at the draw history, that's which two machines are being used at the moment, and that's which 4 sets of balls are being used at the moment. So I've seen a trend already, and that is the trend. So when we know the trend, we produce a chart for that trend. And what do we see on the chart? 15 most overdue, 58 most frequent. Can produce a chart for each individual number. Now we're looking at pairs. See, 39 paired with 15 most often, and so on. And that's how I predict my numbers. So if you want to win the lottery, you need to subscribe to my channel. You need to watch my videos. If you had been doing that in the last few weeks, you could have won hundreds of pounds. So that's how to win the lottery.